Good morning. It's 7:30 on this terrific Tuesday, October 1st, and it's great to be with you. Welcome to Breakfast with Bridgett. I'm Bridgett Ellison, and you are watching us live on News 6 Plus, clickorlando.com, and our YouTube channel. Thank you for being with us. Today, we have an audiologist on hand from Miracle Ear. He is the Chief Audiology Officer there, and he will tell us more about tinnitus, which I just learned is not tinnitus, but some of us say tinnitus. I know I was before today, but we'll talk about that ringing in the ears, and who is most at risk with the other symptoms that can come along with tinnitus and some of the other complications that have been linked to it. So it's very interesting. We'll look at prevention, treatment options, etc. That is coming up in just a bit. But first, we want to get a check of your forecast. And Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos is in the Pinpoint Weather Center. Very, very busy because we have some more rain chances coming. Oh, what's that?
You want some cookies?
I need to do better. I need to do better. No, I'm not gonna.
People don't realize that when we're here during hurricane coverage, we all bring in our snacks and then we all kind of share them. So we have some lingering snacks. There's Sour Patch Kids back there.
Yeah, you gave me the pretzels yesterday, and that was my first time trying that particular one. So I will definitely pick those up next time I get pretzels.
Those are the Dots pretzels. Julie brought those in. Back when Tom was here, his snack of choice was M&Ms. We all had we had M&Ms. We had the peanut M&Ms, the normal M&Ms.
Just a little comfort.
You know what? It's also something kind of you don't have time to really sit down and have a full sit down meal, even though they feed us here. So we have junk food here after a storm.
It helps.
And anything helps. All right, let's talk about the weather forecast, Bridgett. Yeah, so rain chances for today are on the rise. We're up to about a 70% chance for rain and storms after about 3 o'clock. But then rain chances are going to stay pretty elevated for the next couple of days, even as we head into the weekend and early next week. Now, there's a lot of talk and a lot of questions going on about that area in the tropics, that area really focused there in the Caribbean, that we're going to continue to monitor. But let's just take it slow. This is going to be it's like watching paint dry over the next couple of days. This system is not going to all of a sudden ramp up. The same red flags and the warning signs that Helene was sending off already when it came to the environment and the water temperature and the loop current and the wind shear, that's not all there right now for this system. So even though it's kind of developing in the same zone, I know people get very weary and very nervous, especially because there's so many folks across the Southeast that are still cleaning up and picking up the pieces and still search and rescue for so many across the Southeast. We don't want to.
It doesn't even matter if it's a hurricane; it can still be devastating. That's the point.
That's the point. And that's really what I'm going to be driving home over the next couple of days. So for folks who have family and friends in the Gulf Coast area here in Florida, up the Panhandle, we're going to start seeing more rain. And that's one thing that they certainly do not need. So let's take it to the maps and show you what's going on. Locally here, rain chances are on the rise. We didn't see a lot of rain really from Helene. And really at the end of the day, we really didn't talk about it being a big time rainmaker. It certainly brought a lot of wind, that's for sure. So we're going to add some more rain and storm chances into the forecast starting this afternoon. It won't be as hot later on this week, and that's because we're going to keep the rain and keep the cloud cover in place. We are watching 4 different areas in the tropics, 3 of them out in the Atlantic. One could be our next major hurricane. That could be Kirk. Could be roughing up our surf here, even though it's going to still be 1,000 miles away from us. Could be roughing up our surf, but really at the end of the day, that area in the Caribbean is that one that we're really going to closely monitor. So let's take you here. You can see clouds remain forecast, showing the surge of rain and storms developing by about 3 o'clock, becoming pretty widespread as late as early as about 4 or 5 o'clock and lingering as late as about 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening with some pretty rockin' thunderstorms. Lightning, gusty winds, heavy rainfall, all of that will have that potential in the forecast, especially if we get some of these slow-moving storms. There will be the potential of seeing some of those street flooding and things like that. So let's talk about the tropics, shall we? We're waiting for the 8 a.m. update as of now. This system has about a 40% chance of potential development within the next 7. They're increasing it slightly within the next 2. Like I said, this is going to be a slowly developing storm. Expected to move kind of over the Yucatan and then kind of central Gulf of Mexico over the next couple of days. But then once it emerges into the Gulf, models really don't know what it's going to do. It's expected to run into big time wind shear from the north coming in at the same time. And wind shear helps kind of shear the system apart, which is great news for us, meaning it's really going to limit that big time blow up of development like we saw with Helene, right? So this is just a quick snapshot. I don't like doing one model run, show you worst case scenario, and then leave you with that. I'm going to try showing you at least the 2 that I have easily accessible here on the models, right? So we have the European there and the GFS. This is both by Monday morning. One shows it a little more defined on the European model, a bit closer towards our coastline, a little more rain. So that one's a little more bullish, where the GFS barely shows much. It's still kind of a broad low, really doesn't have a direct track really. So with that being said, we still don't know. And look at the day. This is Monday. It's Tuesday. So we're still talking 6-7 days out. So take your time. Let's not go down the rabbit hole of computer models. And please just making sure you find somebody or some resource that's reliable in the weather world.
Yes.
That's not going to be sending out one end of the world kind of run every once in a while just for the shares and for the clicks. Get those sources that you feel are trustworthy, and get those resources that you feel have a good sense of when you should be concerned and when you really shouldn't be concerned. If that's here with you 6, welcome, and we'd love to have you. Upper 70s, low 80s right now is our actual temperatures outside. Rain chances still up to about 70%. Highs will be in the low 90s. By the time all this tropical moisture is all said and done, starting from today through the next 7 days, we could rack up between 3 to 5 inches of rain, Bridgett.
Wow.
But the good news is that 3 to 5 inches of rain isn't all coming in one day. This is little by little every afternoon racking up some rain, which is at the end of the day not a horrible story if it wasn't that so many folks, especially along the Gulf Coast, dealt with a major hurricane just last week. So it's a hard line because we still could certainly use some rain, especially if it comes little by little every day. But for again our neighbors to our north and west, they don't need any of that. So whether or not, regardless of tropical development, we're still going to be seeing some more rain, a bit soggier, a little more unsettled for the next week at least.
And unfortunately, so many of us don't need any more rain. So it is still something to pay attention to no matter what we call it, like you said. And so
looking forward to that switch that we'll finally get eventually, hopefully, for the fall season, that we'll start trending those rain chances down. Temperatures will trend down. And the humidity. Let's get that humidity down, please. I don't really care about the temperature. Let's just bring that humidity down.
I went out last night to put the trash out, and it was just so humid, like even at, after 8 p.m. So
yeah, he's rapping.
What's he laughing about? Okay. All right. Let's sing it over to Trooper Steve. Thanks,
he's back. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Where's Trooper?
I got nothing over here. I'm just being silly this morning.
You're cutting up.
That's it.
I guess results 1 is still back there with the hood up.
No, it's ready to rock and roll
good.
today.
Okay.
It had the hood up yesterday because we had maybe some extra exterior lights put onto it.
Oh, okay.
It's got to look good for the storm coverage.
Just keep tricking it out.
No, I got to. As long as I'm here, I'm going to keep hooking that thing up. Roadway's looking pretty good this morning, Bridgett, on a Tuesday. Not horrible when it comes to our drive times. We can go straight to traffic. 37, it dropped down. That's nice. 33 minutes, Champions Gate to downtown Orlando. But out on the opposite end, one of our producers were just in here a little while ago. Excuse me, one of our content creators. Is that what we call them? Managing content? Candace, help me out. She doesn't know. One of our amazing individuals that live up here Westbound super slow out here in Lake Mary. Candace has had enough of me this morning. And then westbound 46 between Mellonville and Sanford Avenue, super slow. Why? Because there is a weird construction pattern taking place out here that I don't think was properly done. I'm actually going to force a scheduled Trooper Steve on patrol to check this area out in the coming days. East and westbound, you're averaging about a 25-minute drive on I-4 from your 417 spots with some slowdowns out here on 408 right now as you're headed eastbound towards downtown. So starting right around Ivy to that kind of I-4 corridor. Forest City, Altamont Springs, Maitland, Clear, and then just Lake Mary, that slowdown is out there. And then Lake Jessup, running smooth this morning. But yes, Bridgett, I am hitting the road today. I've been off for about a week and change and haven't been out on patrol. Today, we talked a lot about Titusville, and it is National Night Out. So National Night Out was developed years ago, and it allows the police departments throughout our community. So if you're watching this, you should probably think your police department might be doing something too. And it is truly a community event to build the relationships. If you have questions, maybe you've never met anyone from your local police department, this is their kind of open house. So a lot of food, a lot of community, a lot of touch a truck. They'll have all their equipment. So at 10 a.m. today, I will have Titusville Police Department in the truck. I am told by photojournalist Goose that they have some surprises in store for me. Not sure what that means, but they might have their SWAT truck out there. So join me today, 10 a.m., clickorlando.com, News 6 Plus, for a nice discussion. And then check for your communities because National Night Out is happening everywhere across the country tonight.
Awesome. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, they always have like the cool vehicles out for the toucher trucks. That's fun too. All right.
Yeah, and then we all end up washing them the next day because all the little fingerprints all over the place.
Just no stickers. Okay.
No stickers. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks. All right, we want to share with you a follow-up. Unfortunately, some suspects are still out there somewhere, and investigators need your help to find them. They shot an 87-year-old man at a Citgo gas station in Leesburg, and he is still in the hospital in critical condition. And our Mark Lehman has more on the latest video released in the investigation.
Someone in the city knows who these people are.
Leesburg police want you to take a close look at these two videos. Surveillance showing three men outside the Citgo gas station along West Main Street Saturday afternoon. A witness was also recording as the men approached an 87-year-old in his car.
We can see one suspect makes contact with the driver who was sitting inside the vehicle. During that time, there looks like they're in exchange of words, and that's when the suspect shot the driver.
Two of the suspects were on the passenger side while a third approached the elderly driver. Moments later, you can hear gunfire.
And when I got over this way, everything was taped off. There must have been 8 or 10 police cars over here.
John Bell was walking his dog nearby when officers responded. As the victim is recovering from his injuries, Bell says he has concerns with the suspects still on the run.
I hope to see justice. I hope to see the people caught and charged with a serious crime.
Now we want to get to more about Hurricane Helene. Unfortunately, like we said, it has been so devastating. This death toll continues to climb. It is at 133, and there are so many hundreds of people who are still unaccounted for. So here is the latest from Sherelle Hubbard on some of those hardest hit areas.
Helene's aftermath is being described by some as post-apocalyptic.
We've heard accounts of people seeing houses floating down the river with people in them. So we know that that death toll will rise.
The devastation was beyond belief. And even when you prepare for something like this is something that's never happened before.
The Asheville, North Carolina area is amongst the hardest hit. Hundreds of roads remain closed, especially in the Carolinas. Some had to be airlifted out.
It's just really horrifying. It's sad because there's still people there that are really hard to get to.
One man hiked 11 miles through landslides and destroyed roads to find his mom and dad.
Just was the greatest relief I've had in my life, and just hugged him as tight as I could, and bawled, and then went inside and found my mom and did the same.
Canned food? Yes.
Some supplies started to trickle in on Monday, but failed roads are hampering the delivery of badly needed supplies. The White House pledged to provide, quote, every available resource.
Our nation is with you.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
It's really tough hearing some of those interviews. And so, our thoughts and prayers are with them. I have family and friends up there as well dealing with a lot of loss. But it is one of those reasons why the weather is so important and why we try to help you prepare as best we can, because we can't control what happens with Mother Nature. All we can do is prepare and have a quick recovery plan as best we can. We will take a quick break. We'll be right back with our health interview this morning with Dr. Tom Tedeschi, who will talk to us about tinnitus and some of the other related health conditions that come from that. Welcome back. This morning we're talking about some health conditions, and we have a doctor with us to tell us more. And today it involves tinnitus, which is that ringing in the ears, that like phantom ringing sound or buzzing sound that some people experience that no one else can hear around them. And it can be somewhat mysterious and somewhat hard to treat, but we have Dr. Tom Tedeschi with us, Chief Audiology Officer from Miracle Ear. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for getting up early.
Oh, my pleasure, Bridget. Great to see you this morning.
We want to learn more about tinnitus because it is pretty common, but do we really know what causes it?
We don't know exactly what causes it. We do know that we feel that as we're trying to learn more and more about it, that it's a phenomenon that happens mainly from the inner ear, but we don't know the exact location of it. That's what makes it so hard to treat.
Yeah, and so when it comes to those treatments, there's not really like a pill you can take or a medication. So what do you do to help people get relief?
The main thing that we try to do, and you're absolutely correct, Bridget, in that there's not really a pill out there or a medication that you can take. But what we try to do is to try to get people to learn to first overcome it by canceling it out. We can cancel it out in different ways, but the first thing I should probably say is that, whenever you start to have tinnitus, or if you have tinnitus that's bothersome, you first should seek out a professional to help determine where the tinnitus is, or, if it's being caused by hearing loss, because sometimes tinnitus can be caused by other factors. It can be caused by blood pressure being too high. It can be caused by other vascular issues. It could also be a symptom of something more serious going on in your body. And so, you need to have it first evaluated by a professional. And then once that's done, if we find that it's due to hearing loss, then a lot of times if we can treat the hearing loss, we can cause the tinnitus to be subsided somewhat.
That's very interesting. And we've also learned more about how there are some other links to this condition. Is it similar to how hearing loss can be related to dementia or dementia progressing? Like what are these links to some of these other dementia and mental health conditions?
So we know that most of the time tinnitus is associated with some type of hearing loss. And so, what we want to take a look at is how severe that hearing loss is. We're learning more and more and more about comorbidities with hearing loss, such as dementia. And one of the things that we want to look at is what we call cognitive overload. And that means that the brain is having to work overtime or more parts of the brain are working to try to help people hear. And so what this causes is then the brain to start to overload, and we start to go into fatigue. We get tired, we become socially isolating ourselves, and which starts to lead to cognitive decline, which is a symptom of dementia. And so these are things that if we start to treat this early, and we can get a person, if it's caused by this hearing loss, then if we get them into hearing aids, it can help mask out the tinnitus. 2, it can reduce this cognitive decline. And 3, it can also help slow down dementia.
Because a lot of it is because of the impairment. People aren't talking as much, like you said, isolating, and so that can really contribute to that greater decline or a faster decline.
Right, and some other things that we see with tinnitus too is also could be a precursor to people with inner ear problems. Could also lead to falls. Could also be caused
Mm.
by diabetes. And so we
Oh.
want to look at some of these other things that are going on in the body
Mm-hmm.
to see what's happening. But for most people, and I think one of your probably concerns is how can people prevent tinnitus?
Right, right. Because it could happen to you just because you don't have it. It could happen to anyone, and it doesn't really matter your age.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the major causes of tinnitus is what we call noise-induced hearing loss.
Mm-hmm.
So people who um, work in loud environments or work in noisy situations, they need to be careful. They need to protect their hearing because it can cause this tinnitus and cause hearing loss and the tinnitus. If you go to a concert or you're going
Mm-hmm.
someplace and you start to hear your ears ringing, that's your ears are telling you that damage is being done. So that is when you need to protect your hearing. And
Right.
so stay out of those situations. Also, medication can cause hearing loss. So when you start taking medication, whether it's for blood pressure, for whatever, you want to talk to your doctor to make sure that you don't have what we call an ototoxic medication. These ototoxic medications mean they're toxic to the inner ear. And one of the things you could be left with is tinnitus.
Mm. And are you seeing more young patients? Because I know I've seen some studies that say that hearing impairments or hearing patients are skewing a little bit younger because of technology and things like the earbuds.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Bridget. One of the things that we're seeing, one of the fastest growing age groups for hearing loss now and tinnitus is between 18 and 50 years old. Because if you just look around, how many places do you go that you see somebody with something in their ears?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have AirPods, we have headphones, we have all these different types of devices. And what's interesting in the United States, we have no uh, regulations on how loud those can go.
Mm-hmm.
In Europe, they do have standards on those, and they can only get so loud. They have also different types of warning devices that you've exceeded your time limit at a certain level. But in the U.S., we do not have any of those controls, and
Mm-hmm.
so people can be wearing these devices 3, 4, 5, 8 hours a day, and it's just constantly bombarding. And what happens is, as we accommodate to a different sound level, and let's say we're streaming music or something, we have a habit of turning it up a little bit more and
Mm-hmm.
turning it up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And you may notice this when you're driving in your car
Mm-hmm.
that if you've been driving for a while, the next morning when you go to get in your car and you start up, the radio is
Right.
way loud,
Oh yeah.
and that's because you keep turning it up. The same thing happens with AirPods and headphones.
Right, right, right. Well, when it comes to those devices, nothing's perfect, but do you like to recommend a certain style or type? I know they have some now that are more so that hang out behind the ear that you can hear without putting it in the ear. But what's your opinion on those?
You could either, all of them are good. Whatever's most comfortable for you. The thing that I always tell people is just regulate the volume. If
Mm-hmm.
people are standing next to you and they can hear the sound, then you've got it way too loud. You
Mm-hmm.
have it way too loud. So
Yeah.
my caution is whatever type you use, limit the use, keep the volume low, and that'd be the safest thing. But it doesn't matter if it's an in the ear, over the
Mm-hmm.
ear, behind the ear, you know, uh, whatever. The only other thing I would caution is if you're wearing AirPods, especially for people who are runners or hikers or things like this,
Yeah.
keep the volume down a little bit too for safety. That
Yeah.
way, if you're approached by somebody or there's warning sounds,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to hear those.
Very good advice. Dr. Tedeschi, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Great information.
Thanks, Bridget. Have a great day.
You too. Take care. All right, so Kathleen's telling me that we are out of time. So that's going to do it for us on this Taco Tuesday edition of Breakfast with Bridget. So we'll see you back here Wednesday morning at 7:30 on News 6 Plus. I'll see you a little bit later today at noon as well. Have a great day.